Since 1990s, China involved a range of projects in Central Asia region. Particularly Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan attract main investment from China. There is a common consensus that since 1990s, China mostly preferred to invest traditional energy resource in Central Asia region, particularly oil and gas projects. However, recent years, there is an increasing changing pattern from Chinese side to involve mostly renewable energy project, particularly in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. However, this change not only driven by China, but also Central Asian countries itself. In this context, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are the main driver of the green transition in Central Asia region. There are a range of reasons that why these countries prefer to accelerate green transition. The first important reason is about increasing population growth and also increasing electricity consumption in the domestic level. That's why these countries prefer to development renewable energy resource and accommodate increasing electricity consumption of population. The second most important reason is about environmental pollution because these countries mostly rely on traditional energy resources such as coal and oil for their domestic consumption. So, the turning to renewable energy source help these countries to reduce environmental pollution and develop the air quality in their countries. Finally, and most importantly, the growing pressure from Russia to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to import more Russian gas is another reason to promote these countries turn renewable energy source because renewable energy source in the long term can help Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to reduce their dependency on gas imports from Russia and continue to follow their balanced foreign policy. However, we saw that since 1990s, there's a two different pattern from China's investment to Central Asia's renewable energy market. The first period covered from 1990s until 2018. We saw that mostly China and Chinese companies prefer to involve or invest hydropower stations, hydropower electric projects. The main aim is here, China try to harness this country's hydropower potential and mostly they use debt financing in this project. Particularly China's Exim Bank and China Development Bank were the critical player that financed hydroelectric power projects in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. However, after 2018 to present, we saw that there is a changing pattern from hydropower electric project to solar and wind power project. The main reason of the China's engagement shift is also driven by local countries because due to the technological development and reduction in the cost of solar and wind project, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan steadily start to turn wind and solar project and also due to the small scale of and more cheaper option, both countries prefer to attract investment for the wind and solar project. In this context, we saw that China and Chinese companies accommodate local countries' interest and also engage with the renewable energy market. So, since 2018, we saw that Chinese companies such as Universal Energy in Kazakhstan involve a range of both solar and wind projects. In addition, we saw that also changing pattern in the financing of the project. As I noted before, in the first period from 1990s to 2018, most Chinese companies prefer to debt financing via China Development Bank or China Exim Bank. However, after 2018, we saw that China mostly involved renewable energy project via equity financing and also using multilateral banks projects or local development bank projects. For example, Chinese companies invest Kazakhstan but also use Kazakhstan Development Bank financing in order to realize their wind and solar power projects in Kazakhstan. However, despite there is a common pattern such as turning to renewable particle and solar projects in both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, there is a differences in the China's involvement in this country's domestic market. The main difference is about engagement of China with these countries. The first, in Kazakhstan, for example, government-to-government relations are the main driver that attract Chinese companies to invest Kazakhstan. In this context, a range of governmental agreements cover renewable energy projects and create incentives for Chinese companies to invest or involve the wind and solar power project in Kazakhstan. In addition, Chinese companies mostly play important role as a project developer in renewable energy project in Kazakhstan. This means that they play critical role every step of the project, from financing to construction to procurement. However, when we compare China's involvement in Kazakhstan, we saw some clear differences in the Uzbekistan case. Because in Uzbekistan, rather than to government relations, renewable energy tenders are the main drivers to attract Chinese companies' engagement with Uzbekistan renewable energy project. In this context, since 2019, Chinese companies invest Uzbekistan try to join renewable energy tender in Uzbekistan, and play important role as a participator. However, due to the competition with Aqua Power or Masdar, we saw that Chinese companies mostly failed to get project. So in this context, they started to cooperate with the different companies and sign them engineering, procurement, and construction contracts. In this context, they play mostly role as input supplier or in engineering, procurement, and construction contractor. So the main differences between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan is about, in Kazakhstan, Chinese companies' involvement to renewable energy market start with government-to-government relations, while in Uzbekistan, it starts with renewable energy tenders. In terms of the playing role, Chinese companies in Kazakhstan play mostly as a project developer, while in Uzbekistan case, they play role as input supplier or engineering, procurement, and construction contractor. So these differences shows that how China adapt in different local context, engage with them, and develop their own presence in the renewable energy market share of Central Asian countries.